I really don't want to talk about this movie, Courtney. Do you?
No, not really. But then again, who's to say that we have to?
You know, you're right. Let's do something else instead. Want me to make you some Kit Kat brownies?
Certainly, those sound delectable.
Okay, so it seems that a guy who you'll never see or hear is pointing a gun at us. I guess we have no choice in this matter.
I guess not. Well, I guess we'll just have to get through this together. With that being said, let's begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Danny and Courtney Talk About. I'm Danny, and with me, as always, is.
Courtney, also known as Animation Enthusiast.
Yes, and today, this episode's going to be special because we're jumping on a bandwagon.
Bandwagon, bandwagon, let's jump on the bandwagon.
But before we start, let me ponder a question for you, Courtney. What do movies like A Troll in Central Park, Titanic the Animated Musical, The Happy Cricket, and Shark Tale, what do all those have in common?
They're all horribly bad movies.
Well, you are correct there. Actually, what I was going to say is they are all gold compared to the movie we're going to be talking about today. And that movie is none other than Food Fight. Would you mind sharing with everyone what it's about?
Foodfight is a movie that is set inside of a grocery store that comes to life after it closes for the night. The movie itself tells the story of a character named Dex Detective, a crime-fighting dog who runs a nightclub called the Copa Banana and is searching for his missing girlfriend Sunshine Goodness. One day, a new product called Brand X, led by its mascot Lady X, is brought to the store, and over time, it starts taking over the entire store in the style of World War II Nazis. It's up to Dex and his best friend Daredevil Dan to unite all of the food mascots and save their grocery store. Oh, and before I forget, there is a lot, emphasis on a lot, of product placement in this movie.
Yep, she's not kidding there. A lot of famous food icons show up in this movie. Characters like Charlie the Tuna, Mr. Clean, Mrs. Buttersworth, Twinkie the Kid, Mr. Bubble, the Vlastic Stork, I don't know his name, Punchy from Hawaiian Punch. All those guys show up in this movie. But anyway, that's one bit of trivia. One because there's actually quite a bit of other interesting things about this movie's history. Do you know anything about the movie's history?
Well, supposedly the budget for this movie was $65 million, which it doesn't really show in this movie, as you can tell by the animation.
I also heard that originally this movie was supposed to have better looking animation and it was supposed to come out in 2002, but unfortunately some people apparently stole all the hard drives that this movie was on, so they had to completely redo the movie from scratch. Isn't that a pain in the butt?
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Now, if this was, let's say, like a college short film, like if you were taking animation or something, then perhaps the animation wise could slide. But since this was supposedly a big budget animated film, then it doesn't really have much excuse.
I know. It's definitely a big budget because I know there's a bunch of celebrity voices in this movie. Um, isn't that right?
Yes, Such voices include Hilary Duff, Eva Longoria Parker, Charlie Sheen, of all people.
Yeah. So anyway, if we haven't given it away already, I guess we can share our opinions. Courtney, why don't you share what you think first, because you're the animation enthusiast after all.
Well, honestly, I thought this was an awful, awful animated film. Like for starters, as I've said before, the animation is just god awful. From the background designs to the character designs, it's just awful. The plot itself, it goes all over the place. It's not really consistent, so to speak.
Yeah, I have the same opinion. I think it's awful. Oh my gosh. This animation is some of the worst I've seen in like film history. Oh, and of course, like we mentioned, the product placement is really jarring. I think this was supposed to be like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like of food icons, which I'll just point out is a really silly idea to begin with. But even then, in Roger Rabbit, the at least the characters actually like had a bunch of lines or like said things. Like
I know, really.
all they
I
do
know, for
is
example, there was one scene where there was a joke about baldness or something, and Mr. Clean was just standing there. Like he didn't even like say anything, and
I
it's like,
know, right?
really?
Yeah, I know. I think Charlie the Tuna and Mrs. Buttersworth get like a line or two. Everyone else just like says nothing and just stands around in the background. That's, as the nostalgia critic points out, phenomenally false advertising for a movie that's nothing but advertising.
Yes, and funny thing is, I did actually see the Nostalgia Critics review right after watching the movie, so I do get that what he was saying.
Yes, that actually is a good place to tie it in because we were just talking about icon characters. I would ask who's your favorite character, but I'm going to ask which character did you hate the least, if that's a good way of putting it.
Hate the least. I guess I kind of liked the Banish Peanuts guy.
Which guy was he again?
He was in the scene where they were singing that song, and he has this mustache or something.
I think. Oh yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I don't know who he's supposed to be. If I had to pick a character I hated the least, which is really hard to do, it'd probably have to be Leonard the grocery store like manager because he's the only character who really gets emotionally attached to something. Remember that scene when Mr. Clipboard, and yes, that is the character's name, steps on a bag of potato chips?
Yeah, I remember that scene. Oh my gosh, he's like,
Wait until you get a whiff of our brand X elixir. It's practically addictive.
That was a perfectly good bag of chips.
Survival of the fittest, Leonard.
Never opened, never enjoyed.
I mean, I love potato chips too, don't you?
yeah, I do.
But I would never like get that attached to a bag of potato chips.
I know, really.
Now I guess we can talk about the other characters. Now let's actually flip things around. Which character did you hate the most?
Daredevil Dan, without a question.
Ah, good choice. Yeah. He was quite insulting, and he was annoying.
Yes, definitely annoying.
I think he's obviously supposed to be an African American stereotype. Honestly, he makes Uncle Remus look like Malcolm X. That's how bad he is.
I
And
know, he's just awful as a character.
for me, I think it'd probably have to be that doctor character with a huge nose. And also, he's a stereotype too, because he talks with the annoying New Yorker Jewish accent.
He does. Oh my gosh.
And he yells a lot. Oh, and he talks too
Mhm.
fast. He was annoying.
He was annoying.
And also, I thought that chocolate vampire character, who's obviously a gay stereotype, I thought he was annoying as well.
I know, and I think he was supposed to replace Count Chocula because I think they were trying to get him in the movie, and they didn't, and so they replaced him with this dude.
Yeah, I'm so glad the cereal company behind Count Chocula was smart enough to say no.
I know. And there was also another character who replaced the banana mascot. Her name escapes me, but
Chiquita Banana.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, she was also replaced too.
yeah, she didn't do really much
Yeah.
other than be a Latin American stereotype.
Yeah.
I guess we can also mention that Weasel character was annoying too.
Oh my gosh, just super annoying. Like the only running gag that was really in this movie was that he kept getting hurt and the slapstick and everything, and that's really about it. And
Of course, Sunshine Goodness who's not in the movie for very long. Even her scenes were kind of painful. First of all, is she supposed to be a cat? She looks like a human, but she has cat ears and whiskers.
maybe she's what they call a gajinko, where it's a human, but they have like animal like features.
It could be.
I guess this
Either way, she was way too happy and chirpy. She
I
got
know,
on my
like,
nerves.
there was this scene in the movie where our main character, the detective dog, finally
Dex?
yes, he finally finds her, and she's not even staring at him. It's like she's blind or something.
Yeah, I know, right? Of course, she's being held captive by that lieutenant guy who works for Evil Lady X. He was weird. Like, I
He was weird.
I think they were trying to make him sound threatening, but it sounded like more he was getting aroused every time he said something.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
oh, I think I just wet myself. It feels rather nice.
Oh my gosh.
That's gross, by the way.
That's
But I'll get into
awful.
that stuff in a minute.
No, my God.
One more character. What did you think of Dex Dog Detective?
Dex Dog the detective guy, like I thought he was rather generic.
Yeah, I thought so too, and it didn't help that like half of his dialogue is nothing but really, really bad food puns.
I know.
Here's one for example.
All I ever really wanted was you. Well, you and world domination.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a spam.
Oh gosh, way to butcher a great movie quote.
I know, really.
Ugh. Of course, it doesn't help that Charlie Sheen is voicing him, of all people.
I know, he actually did a better job with Charlie Barkin in All Dogs Go to Heaven 2 than this movie.
I could believe that.
Mm.
And speaking of food puns, that'll I guess leads to the humor in this movie. Cause, which I'll just say right now, it's awful, awful. I mean, yes, the food puns are really bad, but not only that, there's also a lot of really lowbrow, crude humor. Like I think there's a joke where a guy gets stuck in a cow's butt, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of
I believe so. Hmm.
yeah, that was painful. Oh, and there was also a lot of sexual innuendos.
Definitely, especially with the female antagonist.
You mean Lady X?
Yes.
Yeah, like when Daredevil Dan said, "Are those melons real?"
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
Oh gosh. Like basically I think it was trying to do what a lot of kids movies when this was originally being produced, I guess what they thought was like what made a kids movie great. It did it all wrong. Like it's because some movies include like crude humor and sexual innuendos. That does not make it more interesting. It makes it more childish,
I
right?
know, and I think what they were trying to do though was also appeal to an adult audience as well by adding these little innuendos in there too.
I
And
know it doesn't work. No,
no,
it
it's
just makes it more childish.
exactly.
I guess we can also talk about the animation in this movie, although you already said it's really bad.
Yeah,
It,
it's horrible, honestly. Like, I think one of the biggest flaws with it would have to be that it doesn't look like it's rendered properly, like with the shading and the color scheme and things like that.
also, it doesn't look like the characters are alive at all. They all look like wooden dummies. Like, and I think they try to compensate for that by making them move around a lot, but just because a character moves around a lot, that doesn't mean they're really expressive, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can have a character move around, but at least give them some facial expressions and not make them look like a zombie.
I know,
And
right? It's especially obvious towards the climax when Sunshine Goodness beats up Lady X. Like in most other cartoons, like she'd probably get all black and blue, but she just like stands there like nothing's happening.
yeah, I mean that the fight between her and Lady X was poorly executed.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't know how this. I'm gonna just say it. I have no idea how this movie has a $65 million budget. The Lego movie had a smaller budget than that, and that looked magnificent.
I know, really. I mean, it looks like it could at least be much lesser than that. And as I said before, like had it been like a college short film, then it could have been at least excusable, but it's not really.
No, not at all. And honestly, even if this was a college like film project, I wouldn't give it a very high grade.
No,
But that's
I
just
wouldn't
me.
either. I mean, yeah, like I would probably maybe like if this were like a short film, maybe like a C minus, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess now we can give our final thoughts. It was awful. Terrible. Actually, one of the worst things about this movie that I forgot to mention earlier is that it feels like it goes on forever. It's only an hour
Oh
and a half long, but things drag out for so long, it's like painful to have to sit through all of that.
my God, yeah, I would say that it was an awful film and just there was nothing redeemable about this film like at all. Not even the mascots that were in this were even like redeemable to look at. It was just that bad.
Yeah, I agree. Awful movie. I'm giving this my very first thumbs down. And I'll just say, if you guys really want to see animation with product placement, you're probably better off watching Logorama, the Oscar-winning short film. Yeah. What do you give this movie?
I'm actually also giving it my first thumbs down too. And if you want to see a movie with cameos and things of that nature, go watch Wreck-It Ralph because those are at least more clever to watch than this movie.
Yeah, and they actually, they say things and don't just stand around in the background.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, I guess that's all we can say about Food Fight. This is Danny here saying I'm awesome, so are you. Courtney is especially awesome for having to endure this movie.
Yes, and you're awesome too, Danny, for also surviving this movie.
Thank you. So, I guess now we can go have those Kit Kat brownies. Hey, before we do, I'll just say, please, next time you see a commercial for food or cleaning products, don't make a movie off of it. You agree with that?
Agreed.
All right, see you around, folks.
Take care.
Red, you go. Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.